Hey everybody, this is Anne-Marie with Light Happy Life. I'm here today with Julia Cartwright. Julia and I have been working together in a few groups for almost a year now, and Julia is, I often joke that, I guess I'm sitting here in a denim shirt. Julia is this most beautiful, elegant, wonderful woman, and she is, as she calls herself, an international creative lifestyle coach. So hey, good morning, Julia.
Good morning, Emery. Wow, that was lovely. I enjoyed that introduction. Thank you.
you, you're welcome. And I look at the things that you do, and you're so thoughtful about creating your beautiful life, right? And it's not from a place of, how do I say this? It's not from a place of envy. It's from a place of thoughtfulness. So,
Yeah.
and it resonates with your story. Like, this is not just about buying something because it's luxury designer. It's about creating a beautiful life. So tell us a little bit about your story so everybody can understand your methods.
Okay, I'd love to. And thanks for having me here. It started way back, and I literally grew up with a strong belief that to feel beautiful or to surround myself with beautiful things was being overly self-indulgent. And feeling naturally beautiful or confident was a feeling that I believed at the time was reserved for the more arrogant. I don't know, it's crazy, but that's the notion I held on to. And I can even reflect on a story that I had right back to when I was 10 years old and I was wearing these denim wedge shoes, and they weren't that high. They were 5, 10 centimeters high. And I felt fantastic, but for whatever reason, there were comments that were passed my way. And, those comments just seemed to stick, and I held on to them. I was just so susceptible to what other people thought of me. And from then onwards, I seemed to play down all my big ambitions. And, those continual comments over time were etched into my memory, and it was unfortunate. I mean, there's a young, impressionable child, and that's what you do. Yes, I would go along, and how I dressed, that changed. It was very tomboyish. All my clothes tend to be a bit more boxy, and I sort of almost defaulted to my comfort style. And my goals from then onwards really were never lofty. I set goals that were always within reach. I think then things started to change for me when I decided to leave home, and I left home early at the age of 17. And I'd set my heart on becoming a fashion designer. And this for me was the ticket I needed to step into the label of designer. And there was no more judgment for me. And it was a path to being as creative as I wanted without the worry of being different.
Yeah.
And in effect, self-expression was encouraged. And the more different I was, the more successful my designs became. So having done this for 10 years, I then got married, and, after 10 years and having my first home, and it was the first major change for me. And after moving into my first home and being able to have the freedom to surround myself with things that I loved, suddenly I found a lost part of myself. It was through creating and designing my home I discovered I could freely express and surround myself with my version of what I felt was beautiful. Yeah, so I encountered that last part of myself, and then the years to follow, I went on to study interior decorating. I went on to study color, styling, and I think I must have studied nearly 7 years, and I could have become a doctor, but I was just so passionate about it. And I used this, and I started my own business, but I also went on and I bought and renovated a number of homes. And for me, that was just a way of purchasing a home and moving to a bigger and better home each time, and as a way of expressing myself. And it was a really good learning curve, because when I immigrated from South Africa to Australia in 2003, it took this international move to challenge my then comfortable path of moving to bigger and better homes each time. And instead of being able to surround myself with this beautiful home, I had to accept that due to limited finances, we could only afford an entry-level home that needed major work. And I mean major, major work. And this was hugely confronting. So yeah, I was forced to really look within and find ways to create my beautiful home that would support me with the comforts I was searching for. And it was really interesting because we tend to surround ourselves with all these external beautiful things. And I think in a way it was my wake-up call to start looking within. So from always looking externally, I was now challenged to look inwards. And this is for me, I think, when the mindful concept started subconsciously arising within me. So not fully understanding the significance of this, I continued on my personal path of self-discovery. And yeah, I was still at a point, though, that I was still taking on jobs that I hated. I hadn't really taken the time. Yes, I was finding ways of self-expression, but I think I'd numbed my whole way of really putting myself out there. And one of the significant things for me, which I mentioned I was going to talk to you, people say to me, is it Julie or is it Julia? My name's Julia, but way back in, I think I was 7 or 8, as part of trying to fit in with everyone, I decided that Julie was more normal. And that for me was okay. Julia was not, So I've since obviously changed back. But during this whole path, I decided no more, with all these jobs that I was taking on, they were just soul destroying, and I no longer recognized the person that I was becoming. I was merely existing. Mm-hmm. So I made this personal pact with myself, and that I was never again going to settle for being anything less than the very best version of myself. And this was the beginning as well for just wanting more. And yes, I wanted more for myself. I wanted and needed to focus on myself. I wanted to be fitter. I wanted to be healthier. I wanted to start and build a business that I was passionate about, and just surrounding myself with more beauty. And yeah, to surround myself with more like-minded, passionate people who felt the same way. And yeah, I think the whole beautifully, having the home as well to reflect that was to have the beautifully, mindfully reflected home. So my big aha moment, quite simply, was, yes, I am enough. My perfect home has always been within me. I have what it takes to build an amazing business and life. But I just really first needed to get ultra clear with who I was, what my big why was, and the vision that I wanted for myself, and what my version of beauty was to me and how I perceived that. And really just to give myself permission to go with it.
Yeah.
So that was it. Yeah.
That's great, because I know so often, especially when you buy a house or the next house, whatever it is, you think, when I get that room done, right, I'll be happy. And it's like you have to find and enjoy that beauty. It's not about putting it done and getting it done and then being happy. It's about enjoying that process, enjoying what you choose, enjoying and living with it and experiencing it and being thoughtful and mindful about it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the wisdom of choice comes into that, and being discerning with right and wrong. And wisdom to me and mindfulness are two very closely linked words. Yeah.
So you talk about everyone having a hidden gem inside of them, right?
Yes. And I think the hidden gem that was for me all along was that I hadn't fully recognized that the journey that I was on, and that, yes, mindfulness had begun quite some time ago for me. And it was about having the wisdom to choose to be present with all my decisions from that time onwards, decisions that were heartfelt, that really, I started seeing little hints along the way. So yes, you do start picking up forms of mindfulness, but it's only once you start falling into the heartfelt state of choice that I think you truly recognize that you are on your correct path.
That's great. So what's your advice for someone who wants to mindfully create a beautiful home?
I think, for me, being mindful embodies the ability to embrace the wisdom of choice, as I mentioned, and this continues into our home. And if we want to live wisely at home, then we need to bring awareness into the process so we can see and understand what is in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really what is in front, in our homes, just having that awareness.
Oh, that's great. So what were the questions that you think someone should ask to create a home that supports their vision?
I would recommend that, just walking into a room, and I think you can equate this potentially if it is a blank space or if it's a furnished space. But the first thing is, how do you want the room to make you feel?
Mm-hmm.
So, if it's going to be a bedroom, then how do you want to feel in that space? And think about all those different attributes that come into that. If it's a furnished space, what could you remove that would make it feel more in tune with what you wanted, or what could you add?
Mm-hmm.
What's adding dust, or what's collecting dust on the shelves that you can either reposition or to donate? And often, we hold on to these possessions that are hand-me-downs or they have sentimental value. Just think again about where it's positioned. Can you relocate that, or is it something that you really need to hold on to? So yes, it's just about being mindful about the objects. Are they beautiful to you? Do they have,
do they have meaning?
That resonation
Right.
with you? Yeah.
And so your approach about walking into a room and how does it make you feel, right? It's so key in everything else in life. And it's not just about your home. It's how, if I make this choice about a job, how will it make me feel? If I make this choice about a partner, how will it make me feel, right? And it's something about being that in tune with that energy. And that's what space does. It envelops us in energy. Yeah.
Absolutely. 100%. I think everything's closely linked in life, and we tend to put them into boxes and only deal what we enjoy dealing with. But if we adopt that philosophy, it's certainly a lot easier.
Yeah, that's true. So what is your secret to a light, happy life?
I would say it's to think about what you truly love, what you want to surround yourself with, and make every decision a heartfelt one.
Oh, that's beautiful. Yeah, thank you. I think I'm going to go take a look at my living room. Thank you, Julia. I really appreciate you getting up so early right now, especially.
Oh, it's an absolute pleasure. I feel quite motivated now to get going today.
And thank you so much. I really appreciate you taking time.
Absolute pleasure.